Hello and welcome back to the Bad Movie Reviews channel, hosted by your two favourite boys from Down Under, Ben and Daniel. And first of all, welcome to 2024, even though we're a bit into it. But
Seen a few movies too already.
We've seen a few movies. We have reviewed a few movies, and it is that time of year where we look back on the year of film that was 2023 and tell you what our favourite was. Not necessarily the best. Well, it might be our best, but more so favourite. But there obviously has been films throughout the year that we might have missed. There are still films as well that haven't had release dates and things like that in Australia still to this day. But this is films that we've seen in 2023 that is by IMDb or Letterboxd info a 2023 film. And it looked, to be honest, when I was making this list, we did top 10 last year. And when I was making the list, I looked at my 10. I was like, these films from like 11 onwards are as stiff as anything.
Yeah.
So we've made the consecutive decision to do a round it up and do a top 15.
Roughly. Yeah.
And it's been a good year for film, to be honest. Like I didn't
I
think
thought
it was
crap, and then when
you've looked at this,
I was
you're like,
some of these movies are all right. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I've got a list here, but I'd put 25 films in there, so I'll go from the 15. But
I've got 22. I said, talk to me.
I have got.
Was that last year?
No, it was 2023.
When I went to go at it, it said 2022. I was like, no, they came out bloody year. But it might have been because
I think it's because it showed at Sundance when where A24 bought it. Yeah, but
Gotcha.
Because Sundance is like now. It was just like 2 weeks ago where they would have shown potentially it in 2022, and then. But did you want to go off on your honourable mentions first, or do you want me to?
Mentions, yeah, I actually will. Before we get into our top 15 also, my 15th and 16th I couldn't split, so I'm just going to say they're both at 15. I know that was a little bit of a improv-y one there, but I just couldn't split them, and it had to be one. So too bad. I've done two for that.
Fair enough.
Honourable mentions in no order. I got Creed 3. Just enjoying the film.
Okay, yeah.
I really liked the anime kind of interpretation of that film. Jonathan Majors was pretty good.
Yeah, you can tell Michael B. Like he's the biggest anime fan. He's done like collabs with Coach, the clothing brand, and then did like Naruto. You can tell as well.
I got John Wick 4 in there. Didn't make the top 15, but was a great film. Dungeons and Dragons. I thought it was excellent actually, and I thought it was going to make it, but then I started reflecting on actually a few of the later movies that we watched that were eligible for it were, I thought, great. The Creator. I really liked the sci-fi design and the universe they built. It did fall short of being like an absolute blockbuster, but had a cool universe that was built there. I really enjoyed the movie Missing, which we watched really early last year.
February, yeah.
Yeah, love the way that was fully styled and designed. And I added Talk to Me in there also.
Yeah.
Didn't make the top 15, but was a great film overall. But would love to hear yours.
I've got a few double ups. I've in my honourable mentions, I have got Talk to Me as well.
Okay, cool.
One of the best films that have come out of Australia in quite some time. It was
probably one of the best
horror films I've seen since like Hereditary, which was 6 years ago now in 2018.
Yep.
I have got Ferrari in my honourable mentions.
Cool.
Which I thought the sound design impeccable. You got great performances across the board. It was probably a little bit stiff. I think that was one that was in my 15 and then moved out. And when I say that, it wasn't probably, it was definitely the one I just changed because I was like, I actually enjoyed 15 a bit more.
Ben did watch like an extra 5 or 6 movies than me this year, so
yes.
our list might be a little bit different.
I have got John Wick 4 as well.
Yep.
Mission Impossible.
I didn't even put it in.
Dead Reckoning. I thought it was a really, really good film. That's why it's in my honourable mentions. It wasn't as good as, I still think it's a great action film, a great movie. I don't think it's as good as the standards they've set with Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation.
I think similar with what we said during our review of that one, once this part 2 releases, we'll probably reflect on it and go, this was actually unreal, but as a part 1, it was kind of a bit lackluster. Yep.
I've got The Killer.
Yep.
One of the best films in terms of, one of the best sounding films you'll hear all year. I have also got Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
One of the funnest times I've had in the cinema.
Great film.
I've got Scrapper in my honorable mentions, which is I'm a little whore for a film about a dad and daughter as you can probably tell.
Yeah.
They always tug on my heartstrings. I know you probably weren't the biggest fan of this film in the sense that it didn't really
Theatre
probably
camp.
connect with you, but it is theatre camp. I've watched it again and I'm like, this is right up my alley. Like, it just is. It's a mockumentary style, taking the piss out of theatre kids. And I've had my fair run in with theatre kids. I have got Bottoms, which I don't think you saw,
No,
but
I
that
didn't
was
see
a very, very good comedy. I did enjoy that. I have got last two. I've got How to Blow Up a Pipeline, which I don't think you saw. I ended up buying it on Blu-ray because I heard really good things. Watched it. You might have been camping, but it's just about a group of like activists who plan to blow up an oil pipeline, like environmental. But it's like obviously a bit political in that sense, but also you've got this it's like a heist kind of movie. And then my last one is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem.
Yep.
In my honorable mentions, which I thought was a fantastic movie and all. Like, I just a really, really good time. I wasn't really expecting
Nice and refreshing,
anything.
actually. It was really good.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting much, and then saw it and absolutely loved it. So I do recommend everyone to see it. I don't know how well it did, but I hope it gets a sequel because obviously they're quite young in the film, and I would love to see the progression of them with age and so on. But
there was definitely
that's my
two
honourable.
that I forgot, which just before we filmed this, I was like, I bet you there's movies I forgot. The
I
Killer
named
and
two.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they wouldn't make my top 15, but they are definitely worth
They are
honourable
some of the best
mentions.
films of the year. Yeah.
They are definitely honourable mentions.
I don't know how you want to, I guess, do you want to go from 15 to 10 and then we just do five each? Go.
15 to 10, and then you want to do countdown or?
Yeah, may as well. We go one by one, yeah.
Yeah,
We can
okay.
go 15 to 10. Go.
Well, coming in 15th, as I said, was a dual one because I couldn't split them. But it was the film Air. Really enjoyed that film, which is the one around the Nike shoes.
Yep.
Michael Jordan himself. There was actually so much more to that film than I thought there was going to be, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I did think, how are you going to make a film out of just signing a... Yeah.
Yeah, neither. I didn't
Signing
think
a
there was
player,
actually
yeah.
that much to it, but anyway.
Yeah.
And then another film, which I don't think any of this series have ever made it into a top film that I've ever enjoyed ever, but Godzilla Minus One. I absolutely loved that film. Thought it was great. I loved the direction. I loved like the whole way it was filmed and designed, and yeah, that was great. So that was my 15th.
Yep.
Godzilla Minus One. You give me a funny face there.
No, I'm giving a funny face because I completely forgot about that film, but it would be in my...
It'd be the same.
honourable. Yeah, I wouldn't crack mine.
Coming in at
15,
14, the Zone of Interest. Loved it, which was that one about the Auschwitz camp, and they live next door. That was the one I'm thinking of, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad I remembered that when I put it in. Yeah, man, that was like terrifying, but like beautiful at the same time and disgusting. And I was like, cool. I like this film. I really liked the way it was. The story that it told and how messed up it was. 13, Ferrari actually made it in for me. Now, Ben, as I said, Ben did watch an extra 5 or 6 films, which is probably why I pushed Ferrari out. And he did say he did a last-minute change there, but absolutely love Ferrari. Adam Driver's one of his best ever. Acting probably since, was it Marriage Story, was it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like 2019, I think. Yeah.
Unreal. To also make not the top 10, but to make the top 15, I actually have next in Barbie.
Yep.
For me, it probably just missed like a few marks. I'm worried that I think some of the best parts for me were probably some of the parts that I shouldn't have enjoyed as much, which just seeing Ryan Gosling on screen was absolutely unreal. But for me, it just didn't have enough kind of depth to it to grab me into it. Also another one, which this will surprise you here, coming in at number 11. I got Oppenheimer. Did not make the top 10.
Yeah, right.
I was thinking about this, right, because that was sitting at number 2 all of yesterday and the day before and everything. And I was thinking, is this a movie I'm going to talk about again? Probably not. Is it one that I loved? Yes. Is it something original? No, because it's biopic. I was like, this movie is absolutely unreal, and I think it deserves every single award it's going to get. But for me, didn't like. It's not a movie I'm going to talk about ever again. I'll probably buy it on DVD, watch it because I think it's cool, like I did Black Hawk Down. But I mean, like, it's a great movie. But anyway, 11. There you go. 2 surprise omissions from the top 10. Lucky we did top 15 because they were actually out.
Yeah.
And
10. Was that your 10?
that was up to
11.
11. Do I
Yeah.
stop at 10?
Yeah, we can stop it. We
Yeah,
can stop
give me-
there, and then we can go 10. We can do
me
one
your
each.
15th to 11th.
15th, this was 16th, and I swapped it out for a Ferrari because I just did have a really good time with it, and it's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Oh, yeah, cool.
One of the best Marvel films. Obviously, they've had a bit of a downward spiral in the past couple of years, but I thought this is just a brilliant film to cap off that trilogy, and anything that gets you emotional, has great character development. Like obviously any film that's a sequel, you obviously have the backlog of what's existed in that universe and story to kind of assist it. So it's already not cheating in a way, but you've got that to assist it. But I did think that is probably my top 3 Marvel film of all time.
Yep. Probably top 2 for me, I reckon, nearly.
I did love it, and I thought that was really, really good. And the reason I think it probably edged Ferrari is just the fact that I know I would probably watch it multiple times. Number 14, I have Wonka. Ooh. I've got Wonka at 14. I thought it was a fantastic film. Similar thing, I'd watch it over and over again. That's probably the one film this year, bar maybe 1 or 2 on the list still to come, that I've just like sat there smiling the whole time at the cinema. And I don't get that. You don't get that often. You might have films where you connect with and you feel, makes you feel, but
yep.
I just had an impeccable time. Number 13 is How to Have Sex. Now,
I didn't see that one.
You didn't see that. I actually think the release date for Australia, this is technically a 2022 film, but it's coming out in like May. But I was lucky enough to see it at the Melbourne International Film Festival, which happens in August. I can't remember. It wasn't that long ago. I was lucky enough to see it there. I think it's just an impeccable film that tells a story that everyone should go watch. And it is very like hard to watch and damning. It's really interesting. When I saw it, they had the director Charlotte Wells there, who was a cinematographer for Scrapper.
Oh, cool.
So she's cinematographer first, and then she ventured into to write and direct. And it's obviously a film that deals with something that's probably not necessarily a massive like thing that everyone knows, but a thing that everyone should know. And it's obviously consent and consensual situations of that. And it was interesting when she was talking about the film. They like went to high schools all over the UK and showed like the film to kids before it came out around like the age of 15 to 18, and like 70% of the boys were like they didn't see anything wrong with what happened in the film, and I'm like, that actually makes me sick.
Dang.
It's a hard watch, but it's got one of the best performances by Mia McKenna Bruce, who's a bit of an up and comer, and I think she's one to watch out for. I did think it was a brilliant film that similar to the discussion we had. It will get people talking. One of my friends, Ben, watched it, and we had a discussion for about a good hour about it. I think it's definitely worth a watch for everyone. If you haven't seen it, please go venture out and see it when it does come out. Number 12, I have got Saltburn. I know you haven't watched this one yet. It definitely is getting a lot of talk on the internet, and I'm sure potentially you might have seen it.
Yeah.
It is. I personally don't think it's like that messed up, because I don't necessarily count myself as like a cinephile. I don't like the words, but I do watch a lot of films.
You watch a lot of films.
For the standard like general moviegoer, it probably had some pretty fucked up shit. But like I've seen some things in films where I'm like, that's vile.
Yeah.
Whereas this, I was like, oh yeah. But I just think it's a really good movie. It's probably one tailored for me. You've got great performances from Barry Keoghan, but it's a bit of a film about obsession and some great performances across the board. It's a beautiful film to look at. So it's like a bit artistic in the sense that it's like a 4:3 aspect ratio.
Got your name all over it.
It's got my name all over it. And then I've also got one that you had in your 15 to 11, which is The Zone of Interest, and I think it's probably the best horror film of the year. It's a visceral gut punch, and it's like I've not thought about it. It's a film that's a weird when I actually think about it. It's not one where I sit there and go and think about it for the next 3 weeks. I've actually not thought about it since I've seen it, but I just remember everything that happened vividly because it's such a visual thing. And I think it's just...
And audibly.
Yeah, it's such an attack on your senses almost, but it's like I don't know how to explain it. It's a film where nothing happens really, but that's like the horror of it. They're in such a fucked up situation, and it's just showing a normal, not normal, but like a family's life where, the wife's using ashes for soil for the garden to grow. Like, that, it's an impeccable film that I think will go down as. I don't know if I call it a war film, but I think it's a film that I can imagine will go down as like a classic in 50 years' time of a film set in World War II, set in a World War time. But those are the films that round out my 15 to 11. So I don't know if you want to go 10 and then I'll go 10 and we can keep going.
Well, I was thinking we'll do 10 to
6.
10 to 6, and then we'll do the one by one. Coming in at 10, which these ones have actually switched between Oppenheimer and itself a few times. So maybe even again, I'm kind of doubting myself. Maybe Oppenheimer should have been 10th here. But I got Maestro in there at number 10. For me, I just absolutely loved this performance. I was so captivated by everything that was going on. Bradley Cooper is one of his best acting he's done in so long, if not his best ever. I don't know. Anything with like great audio design and the amount of work that he put into this, loved it, absolutely through the roof there. The next one for me, which we talked about prior to, we didn't really talk about this film, but we talked about aspects of this film prior to actually doing this today, which was films where I think they're better, or you see them better if they're discussional points. And for me, coming at 9 is Beau is Afraid. Just because there's so much you can talk about. I don't think it actually probably was better than Maestro, Oppenheimer, or Barbie, but because of the fact that it brings up so many conversational points, it's something you can talk about for a while. You could recommend to someone and then have an in-depth conversation, and you're both on two different pathways watching the same film. I feel like that brings a lot extra value to it. So 9th for me, our boy Joaquin Phoenix. Absolutely love him. 8, which was, I think this might have been your audible mention or a slip out for Ferrari, actually, because I already forgot. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I named that 15, yeah.
Sitting at 8, probably for me, maybe top 2 Marvel movie ever all time, if not number 1. It's really hard to have any relatable things in a superhero movie, and I feel like I tried to do that. There actually wasn't that much for the people. A lot of superhero movies do like, we're going to do this for the crowd or for the audience. Kind of was its own movie and telling its own story, which is great. And emotional cues, which, like, getting me emotional, I'll go cry to a Disney movie in my bedroom. I won't tell him though. But like actually getting me emotional in like a cinema, I really try to mancho that bad boy up, and it hit me in a few feels, and I was like, okay, this is a good film. 7, and this one was sitting number 3 prior to not that long ago. So this one I obviously rate really highly, but the more I've thought about it, it has been pushed down, and that is Spider-Man Into the Across the Spider-Verse.
Across, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely loved it. Can't wait for the rest. I'm sure you'll talk on this a little bit more because I'm sure it's in yours somewhere there, hopefully. But they're an absolute phenomenal series. And, like, the music, this movie finished, and even though I didn't really talk about it much, I, like, listened to the soundtrack over and over and over again. So it's got a lot of, like, lovability. There's a lot of value in it for me. So sitting at number 7. And then number 6, which I think was an honourable mention for you, Scrapper. Absolutely loved it. And as, again, one of those ones that can hit those emotional cues. I came to this film going, Ben's stitching me up for an indie film that I think is going to be really shit. And a lot of the time when he describes things to me, I think they're going to be crap. And then we watch them, they're actually really good. But once again, this is one he described that it was actually going to be terrible. But I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I did not think that this film would make it, but it was good. Anyway, that rounds out my 10 to 6. Give me yours. Chuck it forward. What do you?
My film clocking in at number 10 is none other than Hayao Miyazaki's The Boy and the Heron.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's an impeccable film, and if it's his, swan song of a movie that he makes, he goes out on top. I do think it's an emotional film when it talks about, obviously, grief and loss, and obviously it's like semi-autobiographical as well, so it's like you can tell there's so much love put into it, but I think it's an impeccable film, and it's been a great year for animation, for sure.
It has.
I must say that. But I do recommend, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Number 9, early in the year, I was like, this is number 1. And then as I've seen more and more films, it's went to number 9, but it is Past Lives.
Oh, okay, yeah.
it is a film that is kind of hard to talk about because it's such a like down to earth, like realistic look on love and love not fulfilled and the potential of that situation, how it can not necessarily haunt you, but it can also make you appreciate everything in like everything that you've had in your life. That's whether it's love lost, love found, love that's gone. Like it's an impeccable film that is truly heartbreaking, and I think it's got some of the best performances of the year, and I love the movie so much. It probably, I don't know if it should be higher, but I think the rest of the films I'm just like are probably more catered to me in a sense. But
Yeah.
that's number 9 for me. Number 8, I have Anatomy of a Fall, which I know you have yet to see. I was luckily saw that at a critic screening while you were working, but that it's an impeccable film. It's not only a courtroom drama, but it's got such an incredible, it's got such incredible dialogue where you're riveted. It's 2.5 hours long and it's a courtroom. It should not be as riveting as it is. It's like the way the plot synopsis is, but it's got one of the best performances, or probably one of my favorite performances, from Sandra Hüller, who also plays the wife in The Zone of Interest. She was impeccable, and I think the story itself is just unbelievable. I can't praise the film enough, and I do think it's one of the best looking films of the year as well. Is when you're set in France, countryside in the Alps, and that's got one location, like 2 locations, which is the house and then the courtroom.
Is it messed up? Like French movies seem to.
No, it's not really messed up. It's just very dialogue heavy and like quite interesting, and it's one of those films as well that will definitely get people just having discussions. It doesn't necessarily end very open in the air and things like that, but people will definitely have different opinions on
I think those
what's
are
happened,
good films.
and I absolutely loved it. Number 7, I also know you definitely haven't seen, which is Poor Things, which is directed by, that's the one with Emma Stone.
Yep.
And to be honest, I do think she'll probably take the Oscar for best performance because she is impeccable. It's a film that requires full physicality. When you're obviously playing a woman who is a fully grown woman but has the brain of a infant or toddler, like not even an unborn child, basically.
Yeah.
It's one of the best looking films of the year. Its score is impeccable. It's got some of the best tech craft side of things. The production design is baffling. It's beautiful to look at. You've got some performances also from Mark Ruffalo, who you see him having the most fun, and it's just good to see. You get him out of the MCU cog machine because he hasn't done a huge amount of stuff outside of his every Hulk appearance every 3 years, and he still hasn't got a solo film. But I do think that's an impeccable film that everyone should also go see. That's also a very weird film, as you can probably tell if you look up the plot. You'd probably think it's very weird, but if you're very familiar with Yorgos Lanthimos' work in Killing of a Sacred Deer, The Lobster, they're all very odd films. Lobster is one of my favorite films of all time, and it's if you don't find love, you turn into an animal.
It's fair shit.
The Killing of a Sacred Deer was a film that kind of was put Barry Keoghan in the map, and it's a modern retelling of a fucked up Greek, ancient Greek tale of someone who invades a house and then just slowly kills one by they're all odd. And then number 6, you name this film, I have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh, cool.
I think it's a fantastic film, and it is an impeccable by all rights. I do think though, where it is let down in a little bit, and probably similar to Mission Impossible, is the sense that it is a film that ends in parts. And it is quite a long film, but it does end feeling like it is 50% of a movie. Really.
Yeah, okay.
It really ends on a massive cliffhanger. And it's like it's not a cliffhanger like some, Marvel films or like films where it's ended on a cliffhanger. You're like, oh, amazing, because you might not get, it might just be a cliffhanger of what happens next, and that's when it gets your discussion going. But this film just ends on a cliffhanger of like, Miles is captured by, another multiverse Miles where he's like. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
cool, I want to know what happens. It's 3 years away now, like 2 years away. That's just my opinion, but I do think it's an impeccable film, and that rounds out my 10 to 6. So if you want to have your crack at number 5,
Number 5.
then I can go number 5.
Cool. Coming in at number 5, which I think you listed in that series or somewhere. For me, it was the Boy and the Heron. Absolutely loved it. You're right. It was a great year for animation. Had a fantastic soundtrack, which I've listened to 1,000 plus hours already. Like I was soaked in by this universe. It felt so relatable, and it was beautiful. The films are just gorgeous. Studio Ghibli films, and what's his name, Mio?
Hayao Miyazaki. Yep.
Yeah, lucky I got him to say it. Absolutely phenomenal. Love his work. So number 5 for me, like it made me want to go back and go, okay, I need to see the rest of Studio Ghibli films. I need the rest of his work. I already know all the score and the audio design's unreal, but I really want to be part of that universe now. So for me, number 5.
Yep. My number 5, I guess I'll take it from there. My number 5 you have had in somewhere. It is Barbie.
12 on my list.
Yeah, I genuinely think this is like a phenomenon of a movie. I think it's a phenomenal movie, but like I don't think you'll ever get something like this again. Obviously, you had the Barbenheimer situation, but I don't think you'll get a film where you have people dress up, in pink, go to the movies. Like I love, and obviously, we've got a film reviewing channel. Like cinema is something that holds a deep place in my heart, and the fact that you get audience going, it's Warner Bros.'s biggest film of all time. I think it's made like 1.8 billion, 1.6 billion.
Dang.
Yeah, like it's done phenomenal. I don't think you'll ever get anything like this again. I hope they don't make a sequel because I do think it's a brilliant one-off.
Yep.
If they do, I think they'll probably need to get everyone back, like Greta Gerwig, the director, because I think it's really her that made the whole thing, and Margot Robbie basically produced the whole thing. But I do think I've watched it again recently, and I think the comedy holds up brilliantly. Obviously, being a male, it's probably not something that's specifically catered towards me because it's a very feministic movie in the sense that it's about body image, belonging, not being catered and pigeonholed into American Ferrera's monologue. It's not exactly a feminism, like feministic. It's not exactly like the saying that will break down the patriarchy or anything, but like it is a film that I think means a lot, and I've seen it affect like women in my life, and I think it's a film that is brilliant in that sense. And it's like when I was always keen. I mean, we both put it in our most anticipated last year, and it was a film I was very excited for.
I did love the film.
No, like, I'm not saying you did. It's a film I was very excited for, and I thought it would be funny. I didn't know it would also have such deeper meaning. And like I do tear up in the end, and it's got the Billie Eilish "What Was I Made For" coming in.
God, it's a good score.
It's a great song.
Dang.
But when she's talking, when Margot Robbie's crying and that comes in, and it is a beautiful, I think, piece of cinema, to be honest. Like and in the grand scheme of things, it sounds bad, but it probably shouldn't. It's a film made about a doll that's existed for 8, but then you've got a film so like I got to give it huge props in the fact that it's probably a film that shouldn't be what it is, but it's well and truly beyond that by any means. So that's why it's top 5 for me. I loved it.
It's actually an interesting one because some of the girls in my life actually didn't like it at all and didn't like the story it told. I was like, and then they explained why, and I was like, I guess there's things that I just can't relate to. And yours was the opposite experience, where obviously they loved it, but it's also things, again, you and I can't relate to. But it was a great film by any means. Just because I put it in at 12th doesn't mean it's actually like the 12th best film of the year. It's probably still a top 5 film, but when it's top 5 film that I loved the most, it's probably not. But, yeah. Coming at a 4, which I think this was your 15th. Wonka.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Is that your 15th?
No, 14th. 15th was Guardians.
Dude, I love Wonka, man. I was just talking about how great The Boy and the Heron was because of its score and its soundtrack. Dude, I listen to so much Wonka. I'm probably up to nearly 1,000 hours on that too. I would hate to know how many plays I've had on Pure Imagination, but I'll tell you what, Spotify will be telling me it's my number one song at the end of the year, even though it's only in January already. I've listened to that way too many times and fallen asleep to it. Absolutely gorgeous. But for me, that was a film that really kind of brought me back to being a child again, and that hasn't happened for a while, where I felt like I was like so joyous. I wanted to tell all the people to go watch this. We talked about it during our review, how it was great that kids get to grow up with this film now. You know, we had the original, which was...
Well, not even. Like, the original was what?
No, but I mean,
yeah.
It was still part of, like, our childhood.
Yeah, like, my dad showed me, but then, you know, the Johnny Depp one came out, and I'm like, this is just shit house.
But, you know, it's great to be able to have kids in this generation grow up with that and see that, you know dream how big the barrier are and how terrible the fall is. You can still reach it, and I think it's unreal. I love that film. So yeah, it's my 4.
Yep.
Hit me with yours.
Mine is The Iron Claw.
The Iron Claw, yeah.
One that came out very recently. It is a 2023 film, even though I think technically we saw it in 2024. But and in saying this, there's obviously films that are still yet to come out that are technically 2023. So don't give us hate if we haven't included any. But
yep.
I think this is just an impeccable film that is one that really probably got me. It's not the most emotional I've been this year in a film, and I'll get to that in the later numbers. But I think it's just got incredible performances all around. Yeah, obviously had impeccable direction, but it really obviously is elevated by its performance by Efron. But man, I sat there when the credits started rolling, and I just sat there in my own lonesome and self-pity. It's a film that any film that you go and watch a film and you enjoy it, but any film where it really like doesn't change your life in any sense, but it really gives you perspective, is a film that completely is elevated. And that's why, I had After Sun number one last year. It just made me look at my relationship with my family and parents. And this is a film that made me, want to call up my brother. And even though I don't have that relationship, if I did that, I'd call him. He'd be like, the fuck? Like, that's exactly that. But it did, like, it's a kind of film that made me appreciate my family, made me want to call my brother up and be like, dude, it's just, you can't fathom what they go through, and it's a heartbreaking story, but it's a film that, has genuinely changed my perspective on family, loved ones. Obviously, they had a bond like I've never, no other. They were brother, But I think it's just an impeccable film that really, really affected me emotionally. Still to this day, I think about it nonstop. I chatted about it yesterday with, my friend Josh for about an hour.
Anytime someone asks for a movie recommendation over the last month, it's pretty much been that.
I've been very weary about if I recommend it, though.
Oh, yeah. No,
I've been very scared.
Great film.
I mean, I've seen funny TikToks where it's like 4 boys, and I'm talking boys, and they're like, going to see a wrestling film. Yeah, and then they walk out, and they're like tears in their eyes. But that's number 4 for me.
That's a good number 4. Number 3, which I think it was your number 8, Past Lives.
Yep.
Absolutely loved that. And I know I've started off every single thing. Obviously, I'm going to say that at the start of everything because obviously I absolutely loved all these films. But I don't really like any genre associated with romance. And if it's a rom-com, I just don't even invite me to it. But please invite me to it because I probably still will enjoy them even though I say I won't. But a romance kind of genre or drama or anything like that, I can't get ever captivated by them. I can't get soaked in them. They're all so predictable. Every single rom-com I've ever watched has been most predictable, and even the ones which try to put put a twist on things, I feel like I've still knew that was going to happen. Like, I don't know. They just don't.
I don't really think any rom-coms come out in about 5 years. First one was probably Anyone But You since 2018.
The only recent rom-com I really loved was Crazy Stupid Love, which is a great film. But anyway, romance-wise, not really my genre. I usually steer away from it if they're showing in a cinema. I guess prior to doing reviews, I probably wouldn't opt for them unless Ben was like, let's go watch this flick. But, man, Past Lives was great. I reckon they said 500 words in the entire movie, and I've never been so captivated. There was so much acting with silence and emotion. It was beautiful. Loved it. Number 3 for me. What's yours?
My number 3 is Killers of the Flower Moon.
Oh, yeah, yep.
I don't think a film like this will probably ever exist again, in the sense that you've got like a $200 million film that is so heartbreaking and so disgust. Like, it's a film where I've genuinely experienced, like, people walk out and be like, did this happen? And it's like, that's pretty embarrassing that they say that, but it's like, it's the fact that they are so bewildered that something like this would actually happen.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that it's like 80 years, like not even, like, you know, nearly within my grandpa's lifetime. Like, it's, but it's just one of the best directed films of the year by Scorsese, who obviously we know, you know, he's probably one of the best filmmakers of all time. Incredible performances across the board from Leo and Lily Gladstone, which is one of my favourite performances of the year.
Yep.
I think Robert De Niro has not necessarily phoned it in over the past couple of years, but this is one of his best performances of all time. It's such a nuanced performance with like so much evil behind everything, and it's like,
What's the definition of nuance?
just very like subtle.
You need to see, he's the movie guy.
Well, nuance isn't a movie, guys. It's just a word. But I think it's just an impeccable film that I will watch again. But I'll find it hard to watch, but I will watch again at all times. But I think it's an impeccable piece of cinema and will go down as a genuine classic, to be honest. Probably one of Scorsese's best.
Yep.
As well. I can't say enough great things about it. The score, the sound, just everything. I was enthralled. It was 3.5 hours, didn't piss once, and you know me, I'm an hour and a half. I'm a sucker for two toilet breaks. Like, yeah, I've to the point where I've got a phone app where it's literally tells you when you can go to the toilet. It vibrates your phone when something like irrelevant is happening. It's literally an app on your phone. It's actually fantastic. Go download it.
I usually just hold it in until my kidneys hurt.
Yeah, no, it's not good for you. But anyway, your number 2.
My number 2, I won't touch on it too much, but it was Killers of the Flower Moon.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely great for all the same reasons that you and I just ran through then, and especially yourself. But I know it wasn't that long ago, but I'm very unfamiliar with American history or culture or anything. So for me, it was, I was one of those people that probably came out and be like, man, like that shit happened and it's not that long ago. Like, that's messed up.
It's even incredible. Like, I've read the book and it's like, it's really baffling. Like they, you know, the family were worth like $140 million then or something like that.
There was so much more I learnt about it than I knew. I thought it was pretty much just straightforward. Americans just came over, they took everything and then kind of claimed it all, which I guess is what happened, but there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more story and there's a lot more that happened and so much depth. I absolutely love this film.
The vilification of De Niro's character. Like, at the end of the day, he's their best friend, but he's slowly killing one by one.
Jeez. Anyway,
horrifying.
Number 2. Give me yours. Hit me with your top.
My number 2 is All of Us Strangers.
Yep. Another one
to be honest, I actually didn't have it as high as it was probably last week, but just as time goes by, I'm more and more affected by this film. And to be honest, I'm probably going to get emotional talking about it because it's an impeccable film. It's got my favorite performance potentially in years. I showed you the video of Andrew Scott, and it's obviously got Paul Mescal, who I think is one of the best up-and-coming actors. But it's a film about love. It's a film about grief. I mean, if you don't know the plot, it's basically about a gay man in London who's pretty much just meets Paul Mescal like a stranger, and he's dealing with his parents passing. That was when he was a kid. And when he goes back to his childhood home as an adult, he sees his parents and it's just some of the discussions and some of the dialogue is so heartbreaking, and it's made like, it's just a film that I sat there and I genuinely had a breakdown in the car after. Like, I cried during the film probably 4 or 5 times, but I was driving home and I was like, this is fucked. I think it's a film everyone should go see because it's a similar to what I was said with the Iron Claw. It's a film where I wanted to call my parents and just be like, I love you, or like, and it's also made me appreciate like past love relationships, whether it's been a long lasting situation or just a short thing. It's made me appreciate what they can help you find, like this, it's really set over a couple of days, and what they briefly have allows him to discover that. I said it in the review, and I know the review's popping off. I presume like it's getting. I mean, in pop, it's not exactly Mr. Beast numbers, but it's like doing well for quite. And I know you haven't quite seen this one yet, but there's just like a dialogue in the film where, Andrew Scott's like, "Oh, my parents passed away in a car crash," and Paul's character, "I'm sorry to hear that," and he just goes, "Oh, yeah, it's a long time ago." It's like, it doesn't matter. And that's literally what he said. He's like, it doesn't matter. Like, grief, it always stays with you. It might get pushed to the side and things like that. But I can't praise this film enough. It's a film that's probably affected me the most out of everything I've seen this year and probably since After Sun. Funnily enough, both Paul Mescal.
I was about to say, he obviously has
a. I think he picks fantastic scripts. He obviously has a thing for playing sad people and fantastic scripts. But I'm lucky I pulled myself together. I could actually feel myself about to cry just thinking about the film. So, but that is my number 2.
Number 2, well, I think I know what your number 1 is.
Probably.
Then, with the only remaining film in there that was a genuine blockbuster. My number 1 was Iron Claw.
I did think that would be, yeah. As soon as it got to like 3, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, as you know, if you've watched this whole thing and you've made it to this point, as I said, I don't get emotional in films, and the ones that do get extra props, but I still don't cry. But I might go cry to myself at home. Yeah, I actually genuinely couldn't hold back the emotion I had during this. And you're right, it made you want to call your family and tell you love them. I'm now seeing my brother once a month, and I don't see him at all. I see him twice a year. Normally it's Christmas and his own birthday, or maybe stumbled by on a family thing when I'm visiting my mum. But it was nothing that you could. Some of it you can't just relate to at all because it's so impossible to ever happen, but it did. But the relatable side of a bunch of brothers, I'd do anything for my brothers. I fucking love them through the roof. So anyway, I'm getting a little emotional actually talking about how much I love this film. So number 1 for me, Iron Claw. That's for sure.
Yeah, I respect it. I mean, it was my 4. If you haven't figured it out, it was definitely on your list. Probably lower than I was actually expecting, but it is none other than Nolan's Oppenheimer. And to be fair, I was interchanging All of Us Strangers and Oppenheimer quite frequently. I actually think I am affected and potentially prefer All of Us Strangers, but the reason I can't not give this film number 1 because the craftsmanship on this film is the most fucked thing I've ever seen in my life. There is zero visual effects shots in the movie that is 3 hours long about the creation of an atomic bomb. It's got some of the best performances, like Cillian Murphy is phenomenal. I think it's Nolan's best directed film. The score by Ludwig Göransson's probably one of the best scores I've ever heard. The Can You Hear the Music is, I've listened to it over and over again. I can chuck it on. I'll write down theory. I'm creating the next one as we speak. Obviously not. That's probably a bad joke. But no, I think it's an impeccable movie. I think when you touched on it, you said it was a film that you probably won't really discuss with people, whereas I actually feel like I've discussed this film probably more on a lot of the films in my list that I've enjoyed. Wonka I absolutely love, but I've said to my mum, go watch it. But Oppenheimer, I've never left a film feeling so much existential crisis and so much self-dread, and had conversations about that. I think the ending is really impeccable, especially when that score comes in and he's got processing what have I done? What have I created? I've created a massive chain reaction that's still affecting us till this day, still will affect humankind for the next hundreds and hundreds of years. And I actually think it's probably Nolan's film that will have the most discussion. I think he's crafted.
I think it's one of his best.
I think he's crafted genuine prestige. Interstellar. Interstellar is probably one of his most talked about films. I think this will be up there, but I can't give this film enough praise. The direction, the scene alone where he's saying, we've dropped the bomb, and the white phosphorus look comes in, and he's, the sound cuts in and out, and I'm just like, the bomb scene alone, the sound of that, like, it's just, from a filmmaking perspective, it's one of the most incredible achievements, I think, in the past 20 years from crafting a film. And that it's obviously at a film of that level.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll ever exist again. Like, no one will give, it's obviously Nolan, but like they've given him 150 million to create a film about the creation of the atomic bomb. Like, that wouldn't happen 99% of the time.
Yeah.
You look at every film that's ever come out in the last 10 years that have a budget of $150 million, I guarantee you it is a sequel or blockbuster in it, like an action blockbuster or...
Mermaid.
Like a Disney, it'll be a blockbuster, like a remake, a sequel.
Yeah.
I don't think this, like, apart from obviously Nolan doing it, I don't think anyone will get films like this. But man, I think it's impeccable. I've watched it 4 times, and it's not gotten better because I've already given it my 5 out of 5. But it's something that I'm just like, this hasn't lost anything on me. It's still an impeccable creation of cinema, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. You've obviously seen it get sweep all the awards so far, and I think it will. I also think it was fantastic seeing Downey Jr. do such an incredible
his role within it.
I think it's his best performance of all time. And it was only like 20. He's only in the film for 20 minutes, and he made such an impeccable stamp on it. But
I think with my top 15, I think both Barbie and Oppenheimer were. I think my opinions of them are heavily influenced by other people. Where we were talking about Barbie, how it's had that great effect on you, but I've spoken to a bunch of women who are like, no, this is actually not a great film, and it was kind of terrible and has terrible points and tells a terrible story. And I think that's made me kind of reflecting on, okay, maybe it is, and they've made some good points.
People have told me that about Lord of the Rings, and I look at them, I'm like, you're fucking
idiot. We're not even going to get onto that topic.
At the end of the day, film like...
Yeah, it's up to interpretation.
Films are subjective, and that's the thing. You have discussions, and it might make you go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I think maybe you rewatch it again, and then you'll be like, this is incredible, or this is shit.
I haven't rewatched Barbie, but I have rewatched Oppenheimer.
Yeah, you saw it. Yeah, you saw it. Yeah, I've got Barbie on 4K.
I actually
I've watched it 3
Oppenheimer 3 times.
Yeah,
and I think I loved it, and it probably would have been top 5 for a while. But it's actually one of the ones, again, where I've recommended other people to go watch it, and then they've come back being like, no, it was actually shit for all these reasons. And I've had a lot of people tell me that it was only like okay, and I was like, oh, maybe it's okay.
Look, I respect people's opinion, but I don't know how I don't know how anyone could objectively say it's a shit movie.
I don't know if they said it was a shit movie, but it just, I think maybe in my brain I've been influenced by those decisions. Maybe I was over the top. I'm just so hyped that I thought it was great, like I was with Lord of the Rings TV series, but it was actually like but some of it was good, but some of it was But I was so hyped. I'm like, yeah, just Lord of the Rings, give me that. And I think it was the same with Oppenheimer. I'm like, dude, this movie was unreal. And people were like, actually, was it? And I was like, oh, maybe, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, and then you ask them what their favourite film of the year, and it's
Ant-Man,
Little Mermaid
Quantumania.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think looking back on our lists, obviously there's films that you haven't seen on mine. That, to be honest, I reckon a few of them, if you did see, they probably would be there. But I think looking back, it has been a really, really good year for cinema. There has been some classics in my mind. I'm sure you might look back on it in a year's time or something and think the same. But let's hope 2024 has a similar ending to it. It looked pretty bleak halfway through. There was really only Barbie, Oppenheimer, Past Lives halfway through the year, and then
had some good ones.
I think 90% of my list has come from
later.
My top 15. I think 90% of the top 15 has been the last 3 months. Which, to be fair, is usually always the case. I have a few films that are more catered towards award season, and they always come out late to get,
Hopefully 2024 for me is a combination of 2023 and 2022. I felt like 2022 had some of the best blockbusters I've ever seen and some of the greatest movies of all time that I will watch over and over again and will constantly recommend.
This year was very much more of a like art, like
this year.
This year is a unicorn year for cinema. The three biggest films of the year are Barbie, Oppenheimer, and Super Mario Bros.
Yeah,
not in any order. There, I think Barbie's the highest grossing, but
I think Mario's up to like 1.8, 1.9 billion.
I think it was 1.3 or 4 or something. But
anyway,
I thought Barbie was, but those are the three. Which that's like the first. It was the first time in like 10 years or something where Disney has not had a film crack, I think, $1 billion or potentially made the most. Oh, it was Warner Bros. Like Disney did not make the most money out of any company. That was the first year in like 20 years. Damn. It's a unicorn year in the sense that the biggest films are, and to be fair, I love that. Barbie and Oppenheimer, like even though Oppenheimer's an adaptation of a book and Barbie's based on a doll, in my opinion, they are still very original films in the sense that they're probably a one-off. They're not sequels. They're not remakes.
Yeah.
And so like I love that, but at the same time, I think this year's been terrible for big blockbusters. The main one there was was Guardians, really. And when I'm talking blockbuster, I'm talking your big films. But I'm already probably sensing that this year probably will be back because you've got Dune 2, which
it's been my most anticipated for the last
for
3
17 years.
So.
But yeah, I mean, yeah. But other than that, it's been a great year for film. If you have made it through the whole video and watched all of our things, don't send us hate, please. There's still films we haven't seen. I've heard great things about The Holdovers, which hasn't. I think it's only just come out in Australia. But let us know in the comments below what your favourite films of the year are, and we'll let you know if we heavily disagree in the reply. But without further ado, we'll catch you next time. I think our next review's in a couple of days for Argyle, which should be fun. But
cool.
yeah.
Awesome.
Without further ado, we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, guys.